Welcome back to Dr. Pronghorn's Make Along Vlog. Don't forget I've got coasters and stickers I'm giving out to people who buy stuff on my Etsy store. Today we're going to make a mobile, like a collar style mobile from household electrical wire. And I watched about 3 YouTube videos to learn how to do this. I'll put some links in the description to the videos I watched. But anyway, it should be pretty easy, and I'm using copper wire because it just had the 22nd anniversary of my marriage, and that's the copper anniversary, and I thought this would be a cool wedding present. I'm gonna be like a month late, but you know, that's how things go. And it's actually a relatively cheap way to get copper wire. So this is what they call 10-2, which actually has 3 copper wires in it. So it would be used for household electrical circuits that have high current. And these are 10 gauge wire, which is a good one for this kind of sculpture. And it's only like $1.50 per foot. So I got 6 feet of it, and that's actually, because there's 3, that's 9 feet of copper wire to deal with. I got to get the sheathing off first. And you know, I didn't really buy it to use as household wire, so I'm just gonna like strip it all the way down. And I'm gonna start out actually using the ground wire because it doesn't have any sheathing on it to start with. Copper is really nice as a sculpture material because it does not get metal fatigue like a lot of other metal stuff does. So you can bend it and rebend it, and it'll always be the same strength. Not super strong, it's very malleable, but here we go. Oh, and I already lost one of them here. So when you're doing wiring stuff, remember that the white one is the neutral, which takes the current back, it doesn't really do it, takes the current back to the power plant. The black is the hot one, so it's the one that can kill you right out. And then the copper one that has no protective coating is the ground wire, which is only supposed to take electricity away if there's a problem with your system and the electricity needs a place to go. You put it through the ground wire because it makes a shorter circuit than going through your body, and it hopefully saves you from getting electrocuted. Right? So we're going to make a mobile. And so you make the mobile from the bottom to the top. I learned that from several different videos. If you try to make it from the top to the bottom, you'll just never get it done. You can't do the balancing right. So you go from the bottom to the top. I'm going to make 5 layers. It's going to be collar style, so it's going to be completely asymmetrical. And I'm going to make little dealy whoops by bending the ends and not having solid sails. It's not intended to go outside. You could make one of these and put it outside, but it would develop a patina in a way that it won't if it's inside and doesn't get rained on. Okay, so I need a round thing, not too big, but big enough to form the whoop-de-doos around. I'm going to use this old tuba mouthpiece. Why does Dr. Pronghorn have an old tuba mouthpiece? Well, I'm glad you asked. The answer is because I used to play the tuba in the band once upon a time. Once upon a time. I need some pliers. Here are some pliers. Bought these at the Goodwill. You can see they still have the Goodwill price sticker on them. I'm just gonna wind this around a couple of times to secure it in place. There's your first whoop-de-doo on the end, and then this is the bottommost piece. So I don't want it to be too long to make it too cumbersome, but I want it to be long enough. Make it mostly straight. Okay. Straighten it out some more later. Okay, and then I need my side cutters. Cut it off. Okay, so if this is going to be my bottommost piece, and I want it to be relatively straight, I can use my little ball peen hammer to help hammer out any irregularities. And we want it to curve a little bit. And then I do need my needle nose pliers. I know I have some around here. These are needle nose pliers I stole from my dad's toolbox back in the 1990s when I was in high school, and I've kept them ever since. Sorry, Dad, they're mine now. So you gotta find the balance point. Like, where does this balance? And it's right about here. Then you gotta make a loop. Oh, we had the loop on the wrong side. I'll figure this out eventually. Like I said, I watched 2 YouTube videos before making this. And it's also copper, so we can play with it. Okay, does that balance? More or less. It looks like it's a little bit too heavy on this end. Hope all the Calder fans out there will be patient with me. This is my very first mobile that I'm making. You're watching me figure it out as I go. That's about where we want it to be. Okay, I want the whole thing to be copper, which means what I'm going to do is actually use some braided copper wire for the pieces between the mobile pieces, so it'll have a little bit more flexibility. Let's see here. Looks like about 10 gauge. Where did these wires come from? Well, my dryer died in 2020, and my son and I had a great time disassembling the entire dryer. And I saved all of the braided copper wire from it because I never knew what I might need it for. Here you go. So this was in my Kenmore dryer for 15 years. Dryer gave up the ghost, and now it's going to be part of a mobile. Recycle, reduce, reuse. Okay, got a bunch of wire. Let's use these nippers to cut the end off. All right. Turns out I don't really want the whole 10 gauge. Oh, I made a mess. Did I make a mess? Save that. The question is, will it actually swing like a mobile, or is this too thick? So let's try it. I have to go back and use fewer strands. And the question is, will it? Yeah, I need to use fewer strands. Okay. Let's try one. Would actually be pretty tough. Well, that's pretty tough. Remember, no pull-ups on the mobile. All right, so now the next step is to go back to this 10-2 wire and make the next layer. Which means another loop. Okay, and then it's going to go around this one like that. You need enough to be able to make a balance loop in it. So we'll go out to here, and then we'll go with a loop-de-loop. You know, honestly, I think the 10 gauge was a little bit too big. And if I had to do this over again, I might actually go with a 12 gauge wire. Okay, so the goal here is to get this wire to dangle this thing like that, which is doing just perfectly well. Then we have to find the balance point of this whole thing, right? Using those pliers for that. Okay. That's the balance point. So we want to make a loop like this. And hopefully that's still pretty close to the balance point. Oh, look at that. This is down more than I want it to be. So that means we need to move it towards this side. That looks pretty good. Let's flatten this a little bit. And see if it still does. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so we'll grab another one of these strands. We're starting to have a real mobile here. I'm going to do the rest of this in high speed. So I used up all of the ground wires, so I do need to get into the one of the other copper wires. I'm going to go ahead and slice my way into the hot wire here. You can see that inside the insulation is just the same stuff. Insulation is very tough, so I'm going to have to actually cut all the way down it. Be careful if you're using tools of any kind. Power tools are dangerous, and you always want to be on alert when you're using power tools, but I actually have found that you can have the worst problems when you're using non-powered tools if you become complacent and you think you're okay because they're not power tools. So even if you're using non-powered hand tools, you should always be careful, maybe even more so then, because it's complacency that leads to accidents and injuries. Lots of research that supports that. Okay, look at that. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels, just like I said I would. Now I have to make the loop on the top one and attach a string to it so it can get tied off. Oh, it's a little bit too heavy on this end. If I wanted to fix that, I would move this slightly that way. See, I'm just rolling the loop along the wire towards the direction I want it to go up more. Still needs to do more. There we go. That gives me the level of balance I want. Okay. And then for the last one, I'm going to actually use a regular string. Just so that it's got a regular string connecting it to the world. The rest of it's all copper from top to bottom. Okay, let me get some string. Of course I've got string. I have all of this hand sewing thread that I use for leather crafting projects. This brown will be pretty good. So okay, look at that. A mobile. There you go. A mobile made entirely from copper. All of it from home wiring for the copper wedding anniversary. It's pretty cool. And you can see my workbench with all of my hand planes and my shoe anvils, my tuba mouthpieces and hand sewing thread, the knitting machine that I'm eventually going to fix, and there are all of my tooling, leather tooling tools, scrap leather, leather dressing, leather dyeing, and here's my leather toolbox. So I'll leave you with the mobile hanging out and being beautiful in its space. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm gonna just keep making stuff. You never know what it'll be. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a like. Tell me what you would do differently if you like this or not, whether I should try making some more of these, and if I do, how I should change the process. Thanks.